If you're a startup just getting started, there can be an alphabet soup of different acronyms and metrics that you need to keep track of. And whether it's CAC, LTV, ARR, these things can kind of be overwhelming. In this video, I'm going to talk through some of the three-letter acronyms or TLAs that you need to keep track of to make sure your startup has great metrics. I'm going to talk through the basics of metrics and what you should be doing to keep track of your startup and how you're progressing. I'm going to talk through R metrics or AARRR, pirate metrics, to make sure that you're using your funnel the right way and you're thinking about your metrics in a way that can really progress you from stage to stage. And I'm going to talk through what you should be using in terms of metrics early on in your startup and late in your startup. So I've left time codes below so you can jump around if you want to jump to any of these sections. So without any further ado, let's get into it. There are a lot of TLAs or three-letter acronyms that are circulating in the startup world, and these can be confusing to a first-time entrepreneur. There's so many things to keep track of. At the end of the day, investors and startups use these metrics to keep track of how they're doing. And the commonality of how these metrics work allow investors and other folks to compare themselves to much larger companies. In fact, as you learn about some of these terms, you can actually look up some of the metrics that you have in your own business and compare them to much larger public companies as well. And this gives you a sense of how you're doing versus world-class companies in the same space. The most common metric is really around the sales funnel and how folks come to your company, come to your business, and they may come in through the website, they may come in through word of mouth or your telephone or your fax machine, and how you convert them from being a visitor or someone interested in learning about your business to being a customer. That basic metric is called the conversion rate. And as you grow and as you improve your business, your conversion rate gets better and better. So as we think about the sales funnel, the top of the funnel we have visitors coming in, and the bottom of the funnel we have customers. Now there's lots of different ways to get customers into the top of the funnel, and a popular way to do that is with advertising. Now when you're advertising, you're paying money to raise awareness, and as you're paying money, people are coming in as visitors. Your cost to get someone through that entire funnel from the top to the bottom, that's called a CAC, or a customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost you in terms of dollars to get someone all the way through the funnel? So early on, you may be willing to pay a couple dollars to get someone through the entire funnel. And as you get better and better, that CAC should be getting lower and lower. So if you're using money to put people into your funnel, you want to track them all the way through. And once they become a customer, you want to know how frequently did they actually do business with you. If they're doing business with you just one time, where they come in, they do a transaction, and they never interact with your business again, that's really a one-time cost. A lot of software businesses and a lot of product businesses are now thinking about their businesses as a SaaS, or software subscription, or software as a service. With these types of businesses, they're really looking for recurring revenue, where money is coming in month over month or year over year. If you take all the money that's coming in on a recurring basis, on a monthly basis, that's called an MRR, or monthly recurring revenue. If you take the money that's coming in on an annual basis, that's called your ARR, or annual recurring revenue. Your MRR or ARR gives you a sense of how well your company is doing on an annual basis and how predictable your revenue or income is. Okay, great. You've gotten someone to come to your website or come to your business, and they've become a customer, and you've taken them through the entire sales funnel. Now the key thing is, how do you keep them? You want to make sure that that customer is engaged and they're continuing to use your product or service, and that they're continuing to stay a customer. If your business is taking customers in but they immediately quit, or they decide to cancel their subscriptions, that is called churn. And companies that churn their customers means that it's a constant treadmill to take those customers in, and then they get churned right back out the other end. Startups should be thinking about their churn rate and how they can reduce churn, meaning that you want to keep the customers that you already have, and you want to make sure that they're not coming in and immediately flying out the other end. It's really important that companies think about their churn rate and how can you reduce your churn rate, keep your customers happy to allow your business to grow quickly. A lot of companies have a problem where they're able to attract customers to the product, but as soon as they come to the product, they end up churning very quickly. And this is what's often referred to as a leaky bucket. You're able to pour money in the top, get customers, but at the end of the day, they end up leaking out of the bucket. It's a huge waste of time, it's a huge waste of money. So make sure your churn rate is low prior to turning on the spigot of advertising and marketing. You want to make sure you're able to retain those customers to really provide that lifetime value or LTV. So a great way to think about this is the R framework, or the AARRR. It was a framework developed by Dave McClure, and it really stands for a number of the things that we've been talking about. It takes customers from the top of the funnel and nurtures them all the way throughout. A stands for acquisition, and acquisition is really how you get customers into the top of the funnel. You may have multiple channels for getting them into that funnel, but it's really how do you measure the acquisition? How strong is your company at acquiring customers? It could be through advertising, it could be through word of mouth, it could be through a number of different channels. The second A is for activation. A lot of startups are able to get customers into the beginning of the process and funnel, but they're not able to activate them. And activation is really how engaged or how active are they in your service. If you're able to get people to sign up, but they don't actually use your product, that's not going to really be valuable to them, and it's not going to be valuable to your company. And so second metric you want to be measuring is activation. How do you measure when customers do something that actually produces value? It could be just signing up, or it could be something more active like sending your first transaction, closing your first sale. The activation metric is what is the first thing that customers are actually doing to activate in your product or service to make sure that they're generating value and doing something interesting with your product. The first R is for retention. If they're coming to your product or service, they're able to use it for the very first time. Are they coming back and using it again? If they use your service once and then go away, it's not very valuable for the customer. It's not very valuable for you as the business as well. And so are you able to retain them? There's lots of metrics you can track for retention. Number of times they come back a month, number of times they come back a day. Are they coming back? Are they getting repeat value from your product or service in business? The next R is referral. If customers are coming back to your service, they're using it over and over again, are they willing to refer someone else? And if your customers are willing to refer other friends, other colleagues, family, that means that you'll have a really good viral coefficient. A viral coefficient is how many people one person will infect with your product or service. Kind of weird in this time, but that's what it means. And so if you're thinking about a viral coefficient, you're thinking, if I get one person to use my product or service, what is the likeliness that they will share it with one or two or three other people? Companies that have good viral coefficients allow that business to grow very effectively. It means that they can lower their customer acquisition cost, their CAC, because they can use their existing network to market their product or service. In fact, you see lots of startups using that referral system to incentivize their existing audience, their existing user base, to refer and be their marketing engine. And so as you get more mature with your startup, being able to light up and engage a referral audience with your existing customers is a really cost-effective strategy for growing your business. The next R is, of course, revenue. Companies need to make money, and as you think about your revenue, you really want to be thinking about that annual recurring or that monthly recurring basis. You want to make sure that your customers are staying customers and they're staying engaged with your product or service that allow you to grow very efficiently. The R framework can be a great mnemonic for keeping track of the different metrics and making sure that you're progressing with your business in the right way. When you get started, you want to make sure that you're keeping your metrics simple. And as your startup grows, you're going to get more and more sophistication. And that's really natural. In the beginning of your company, you're trying to get product market fit. And that means you're really trying to understand what are exactly the features that are necessary for your customers to really love your product and use your product. This product market fit means that you're really spending more time and attention on retention. You want your customers staying customers, and that means retaining them. As your company grows and matures, you're going to start to spend more time thinking about customer acquisition. How do you find more customers and new customers? You still want to keep your retention numbers, but you're going to start thinking more about how do you acquire new customers. And that's totally natural. As companies mature and grow, they start to shift their attention from the metrics that they used in the beginning stages of their business to metrics that are important later on in their business. And this can be really empowering to the team, but it can also be confusing. So just make sure, if you're a leader, to provide clarity to your team in terms of what metrics are important, and if you are changing gears from one metric to another, why you're making that shift. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe down below, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Love making content for entrepreneurs and startups. Thanks so much. I'm Greg Raiz. Until the next one.